Good evening and welcome to the Psych Talk Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and with me tonight is Techie with Moses, Techie Joe. How are you, darling?
I'm doing okay.
Okay, well, let's see if we can actually go live.
Oh, fun. It says we're
We
live.
are fighting the Facey Books.
Oh no, poor Faithy Books.
Alrighty.
Come on, Faithy Books. Get the Facey Books. Get them. Get the Facey Books. Get
Oh,
it.
yeah, you're alright. Alright, we're just not going to get the Facebooks. We're going to have to do the social media thing. Can you give me a minute? Go into our lead story.
Alrighty. So Titanic sub search live. No sign of missing vessel so far. U.S. Coast Guard says. The U.S. Coast Guard says search efforts have not yielded any results so far and estimates that Titan has approximately 40 hours of oxygen left. Sky News understands King Charles has asked to be kept fully up to date on the situation. Um, so yeah. Alrighty. I'm looking to see, is there more to this one?
Um, there is, there's the whole submarine is down. Let me, sorry.
Ah, okay, got it. Sorry, this was a different one. So I'm having to scroll back to the beginning of this story. Because this literally is a live posted story. So it keeps
There you go.
adding on. There we go. There we go. So yes, a unified command has been set up consisting of the United States Coast Guard, the United States Navy, Canadian Armed Forces, and Coast Guard, and the Titan's parent company, Ocean Gate Expeditions. So yeah, the five people on board the missing submersible close to the wreck of the Titanic have about 40 hours of breathable air left, the U.S. Coast Guard has said. In a 6 p.m. update on Tuesday, Captain Jamie Frederick said the search for the vessel called Titan had not yielded any results so far. An ROV, remotely operated underwater vehicle, has been deployed at the site and has a camera on board. Several research vehicle vessels with ROV capabilities are making preparations to join the efforts, Mr. Frederick said. A unified command has been set up consisting of expertise from the United States Coast Guard, the United States Navy, Canadian Armed Forces, and Coast Guard, and the Titan's parent company, Ocean Gate Expeditions. Since Sunday, combined search efforts have covered an area of 7,600 square miles. He added, a Canadian P-3 aircraft is conducting a 6-hour search, and several C-130 aircraft and another P-3 are scheduled to fly on Tuesday afternoon and evening, he said. The combination of a surface search and a subsurface search makes it an incredibly complex operation. The Titan is sealed with bolts from the outside, which means the occupants cannot escape without assistance, even if it surfaces. A retired U.S. Navy submarine commander said the hunt for the Titan is like searching a football pitch with a magnifying glass. Captain David Marquette told Sky News he finds it concerning that they haven't found it yet. He said it's probably on the bottom, it's not on the surface. I imagine they're going inch by inch and searching a big area on the bottom where it could be. We could get lucky and we could find it, but we don't like to bank on luck. Captain
Right.
Marquette said the tone of the Tuesday briefing suggested they've kind of admitted the chances are really, really slim.
They are. They're really slim. Looking at everything in general, granted, there's some safeguards, there's some well maybes, there's some I'm not sures, but it is a very slim situation with this. Because I was looking at some earlier interviews of viewing the Titanic, and the Titanic, the as in the submarine touring it, and it's very, very questionable if it was even put together right because it wasn't approved. It wasn't, like standard issue.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about the fact that they are sealed in it.
Well, that's standard. Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, I thought most submarines you could surface and just open a hatch, just
No.
turn a
Not
thing.
the older model single. Well, this is like a minivan. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so the 5 people on board are British billionaire Hamish Harding, Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood, and his son Suleiman, chief executive and founder of Ocean Gate Expeditions, Stockton Rush, and French submersible pilot Paul Henry Nargelet. So yeah, I'm sure when your boss is lost at the bottom of the ocean
You're
in
gonna
an
do everything you can.
unopenable submarine, you're in a rush to find him.
Right.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh dear. I'm sorry. That just threw me when they said that no, it's bolted shut. You can't open it.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah. So like, what actually happened? Did they just lose contact, or? Oh, the Canadian research icebreaker Polar Prince, which was supporting the Titan, reportedly lost contact with the vessel about an hour and 45 minutes after it submerged.
Yep.
The wreckage of the Titanic, which sank in 1912 after hitting an iceberg, lies at a depth of about 12,500 feet. The Titan submersible usually takes 2 hours to descend to the wreck.
Yeah. And they lost
So,
contact 20 minutes out.
well, 15, 20 minutes, supposedly 15 to
Mhm.
20 minutes after, of within 15 to 20 minutes of getting to the depth of the Titanic,
Right.
they lost contact. So what is that? Probably about 10,000 feet,
At most.
9,000 some feet,
Yep. Hello,
10,000
Miss
feet.
Shannon. Hello, Miss Brenda. It looks like Facebook has stopped us from posting again. Yay. We will be on YouTube.
Hi, Shannon. Hi, Brenda. Um, but yeah, that's, I mean,
It's insane. It's
well,
scary.
because that brings up bigger questions of like, why did they lose contact? Like, what happened? Did something tragic go wrong an
Mhm.
hour and 45 minutes into this expedition that apparently shouldn't have taken them very long?
Right.
Like, because this sounds like they were doing the 2 hour descent.
Mhm.
I'm assuming the ascent is probably closer to 3 hours to allow for the body to adjust to returning to surface pressure.
Right.
Because usually your ascent is slower than your descent, I believe,
Right.
in a submarine. And so I figure you're probably spending what, a couple of hours surveying the wreckage.
A couple of hours.
Okay, so all of this should have wrapped up
Mhm.
pretty quickly.
Yeah. There should have been 2 hours down, there for 2 hours, back up in 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't find them.
I mean, that kind of screams something went horribly wrong at an hour 45.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because with no contact,
Right.
they can't find them.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound like this is going well.
Well, what's scarier to me is this may not be one that's not found at all.
Well, I mean, that's potentially possible because again, like they're saying, this is a needle in a haystack now.
Right.
And that's effectively what they're saying is that, like, good luck, it's the bottom of the ocean.
Well, it took
It's
them
a
over
submarine.
100 years to find the Titanic. Okay.
Right. Well, granted, on the case of the submarine, it really, like, this was its targeted spot. This is where
Right.
it was going.
Right.
There's not really any normal reason that it would deviate from the area.
Right.
As in, like, where else are you going to go? It's not like, well, we were on our way to the Titanic. We decided to stop by Denny's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's for an underwater Denny's I don't know about too.
Well, here's the big question about this: is it's ran with a damn game stick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Well,
it's
again,
ran with that little controller like the Invisible uses to play his games. That's what runs this this tank.
yeah.
Okay, it's controlled by text information coordinates, and they've
Okay.
lost their signal.
So literally, it's a question of so what happens
Uh huh.
when you lose contact with it and it's no longer getting information.
Right. Well, it's not getting texted to them. That's the
Right.
problem. Yeah, that's the
Okay.
problem. Their cell phone's dead.
Well, exactly. But then that questions what does the submarine itself
Right.
do when it loses data?
Right. They said the three main scenarios are they're stuck in the wreck when trying to explore it, malfunction and drifting or
Drifting
leak,
or leak.
or it or last it came up and but sat linked failed and they are floating.
Okay, so potentially there's a horrible communication system failure
Right.
because not only have you lost, like, because you've lost satellite,
Right.
which that would be the end portion that you figure out is you don't have SatLink to tell you to send the beacon of we have surfaced, let us out.
Right.
More importantly, you lost communications link.
Right.
So, as in, you an hour and 45 minutes into this, communications died.
Right.
Like, at least we know that. The communications died for some reason.
Right.
That it's non-responsive, it's not doing anything, it's not sending anything back, you're not hearing from anyone aboard,
Mm-hmm.
you've lost communications.
Right.
This sounds like a total communications equipment failure. Like even the redundancy of the SAP connection that should tell you, okay, hi, we're on the surface now.
Right.
Which, I mean, you would think, wouldn't you, that like there would also be like, because I'm sorry, I figure this is several $1 million worth of equipment.
Yes.
Probably a good guess. Wouldn't you just go one step further and go just in case?
Yeah.
Let's just put a GPS beacon locator on it.
Well, that's when I'm thinking in general, wouldn't there be some sort of locator?
I mean, granted, you're saying this is non-standard equipment. This is an untested vessel, is
Right.
what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Like this is a new thing they were doing, and they took it out for a joyride.
Well, they've sold tickets to the joyride, but this is something they built in their bunker.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like they skipped some of the things that one would normally think of.
Right.
If you were like, okay, but seriously though,
Right.
we need we you know, many things can go wrong with any piece of equipment.
Right.
Okay, so if it fails, it was created to surface, and then the sat link would or should kick in. See, that's what I'm saying. Where I'm thinking there's a massive,
Uh-huh.
unless what you mean by sat link is a GPS beacon that is satellite powered, because GPS is satellite powered.
Right.
Otherwise, I would think that would be an add-on.
Well,
You'd
no.
really, just in case we lose it, just in case everything else goes wrong,
Right.
just throw a GPS beacon on it.
Right.
Like, just throw a GPS beacon on it. Like, our fucking car that we bought has a fucking GPS beacon on
Right.
it. You know what I mean? Like, they're not incredibly expensive. I'm sure it costs more for marine equipment. I'm sure a lot of things. But, like, throw a battery pack in there and a GPS beacon.
Yeah.
Let it at least ping a satellite and be like, I'm over here.
Right.
Like, here I am. Help. Belly up. Not functional. Like, or, in case you lost me.
Exactly. So it's questionable what's going on, where they're at. Of course, they're not releasing details at the moment. There is many places having live coverage right now. Started 3 minutes ago,
Yeah.
and so we will be monitoring the situation. However, we go into this one because there's another situation that pisses me the fuck off. Like, hold still, I've
Yes.
got something for this.
Alrighty. So, psychic detective pinpoints the Titanic tourist sub, and it's not where you think. Exclusive German clairvoyant Michael Schneider, who has aided missing persons investigations in the past, told the Daily Star where he thinks the missing Titanic tourist sub is. A psychic detective who has located missing persons in the past reckons the Titanic tourist submersible has drifted way off course. The OceanGate exploration sub Titan lost communication with its mothership in the Atlantic on Sunday, June 18th. The expedition had set off from Newfoundland, Canada. The 5 passengers on board are thought to be OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush, British Billy. Yeah, you know all this. We read the other story. So Titan has lost roughly 1 hour and was lost roughly 1 hour and 45 minutes into its 2 hour descent to the shipwreck. German clairvoyant Michael Schneider has now given his verdict on where the rescue teams who searched an area about the size of Connecticut overnight ought to be looking. The self-described seer claims to have solved at least 25 missing persons cases since he started aiding investigations on a voluntary basis in 2006. Explaining how he works, he previously told the Daily Star, "I look at a photograph of the missing person or animal and ask myself to God whether the creature is dead or alive, and get an answer through my inner voice that is almost always correct." He then consults a map and deduces a location. Snyder told the Daily Star today he pinpointed a location for Titan roughly 62 miles northeast from the Titanic wreck. Connecticut is roughly 110 miles from east to west and 70 miles from north to south. He said he thinks the vessel is around 3,800 meters deep at a depth of the seabed there, the same as Titanic. The clairvoyant was keen to emphasize, "I don't want to be a know-it-all, and in this case, I think the technology of the U.S. Coast Guard is crucial. Seers are just accessories for some as annoying as mosquitoes, for others, possibly additionally helpful straw." In one of the most well-documented cases, Schneider provided coordinates for a woman who went missing in Pandenstedt, Germany in 2021. She was found just 235 meters from where he said, as reported by JB. He pinpointed exactly where couple Peter Neumar and Laura Perselli would be found after they vanished from their home in Bolzano, Italy in January 2021. Let's see. The Daily Star previously reported how German authorities investigating the disappearance of Madeleine McCann had conversations with Schneider. This afternoon, the U.S. Coast Guard announced it was deploying vehicles capable of searching underwater in the Atlantic after huge efforts last night failed to locate Titan. It has been reported from a British firm with a high-tech vehicle capable of saving the submersible is being blocked by the U.S. government from aiding the rescue mission. Okay, so he is pinpointing an area that sounds like it is not horrifically off of the search zone.
It's not even off the search zone, first of all. Second of all,
Okay.
my problem is one, there are thousands of psychics calling these people, making these statements, calling every damn newspaper around. I know where they are. I know where they are. That just slows down the fucking search, people.
Well, it can, yes.
All right.
Well, because you do have to decide, are you, like, on the one hand, if he actually manages to give you the exact location that they are and you ignore it, then holy fucking shit, when you come back up and you find them within a couple of meters,
right,
plus or minus that spot, everyone's going to be like, you should have fucking listened. Versus, okay, that was one of many tips, leads, and informations that we received.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we just searched an area the size of Connecticut
Right.
overnight
Right. For nothing.
for nothing. Well, but I mean, originally that was their geographically defined search area was roughly the size of Connecticut,
Right.
and now,
Right. And now they've got the sun, putting out this crap, which, it should have went to the investigators if the investigators asked for it. Not
well, and
go
then
to the sun.
well, and then here's the. Let's assume for a second he's eventually proven right.
Right.
Pause for a second for that to sink in. And because I don't mean today, tomorrow, next week, next year, 10 years from now. It could be 20 or 30 years before they ever find this damn thing.
I don't think we're going that long, but okay.
Well, but you get my point.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, it took us, what, almost 80 years to find Titanic in the first place?
Almost 100.
Yeah. Well, because it was back in the early 90s. And it,
Right. But this is what chaps my ass.
mhm.
Is we have these psychics out here doing the exact same thing I'm about ready to do.
Okay.
But then running to the newspaper with a damn story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that is, the right thing to do. Do I do it? Yes. Do I do it and send it to like Joe or somebody and go, let's see if I'm right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like, yes, he has moments where he's like, I read a story, this is my thoughts, I'm just going to send it to you, we'll see if it's right later.
Right.
Well, but that was kind of where my point was going, is that there's a possibility somewhere down the road that is where they find it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that's where it is today.
Right.
Like, you're dealing with the bottom of the ocean. You're dealing with a large depth of ocean. You're dealing with some strong underwater currents.
Well, you're dealing with two. You're dealing with the Atlantic and then emptying out of the Carpathian or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they will find them in that location. But I'm not calling the Sun to report it and take a PR stunt.
No. But yeah, that's...
Yeah. There is no such thing as a psychic detective. There is a psychic that does a reading on a situation. I feel there's massive technology failures. I feel that, the CEO actually knows what's going on, and I also feel like that there may be some different views and problems that come out of this later on.
Mm-hmm. Like, do you blame all this on the TV show Psych, though?
I blame this all on nothing, except for the idiots that want to call in and aggravate people. There is a case in Arizona. That poor detective had to hire a personal assistant to go through all the crap that got sent to him from
Okay.
crackpots.
Okay. Well, I was meaning the fact that there was we've entered psychic detective into the lexicon of words we use to describe people. Like, do you blame psych for that, or do you think that was something?
Oh no, that term was used way before psych.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because sorry, that's where I know it from.
I know, but no, that term was used way before then. I just get very pissed off with PR stunts. I get very pissed off when we are supposedly trying to dedicate and aggravate situations. I think also he's off. He's off by a landmark.
Okay. Like, because I mean, it's a very large area.
It is a very
and it
large
is
area.
not easy to search. And like, for any of you who don't understand what it took to find Titanic in the first place,
Right.
that ship is humongous. Not as big as like your Carnival cruise liner, but it's not just a dinghy. Titanic. Not hard, it's pretty big. It's pretty big. It's pretty big. Like it's very diminutive compared to like a Carnival cruise liner now. There are images of that, and it's kind of frightening.
Yeah.
Like how big the floating cities of today's cruise liners are
Right.
compared to the original, like mother of them all, Titanic and
Well,
Olympia.
it was the end of the era, and I'm going to make a statement, and people aren't going to like it. The Titanic and the Olympia are reversed.
Okay. You still say Olympia went down and Titanic was the one that survived?
Titanic did not go down. Olympia went down. No, Britannia went down, then Olympia went down, and then Titanic went down.
Okay. So, but sorry, back to the idea though. It's not a small ship.
No.
Like it's not a small ship, and it took what almost 30 years of actual being able to send submersibles down,
Right.
and search, and like a massive jump in technology. We're asking them to find this within 96 hours.
Right.
Because that's all the oxygen supply there is.
Which I think is problematic.
Well, yeah, I don't think that was incredibly well thought out, but that's neither here nor there. Like, these are lessons you learn for the future. Sort of like we learned a lot from Titanic itself.
Yes.
Like, you know, the fact that icebergs are not just the tip that floats above the water. There's actually a whole bunch more stuff below it.
Yeah.
That, you know, like some design thoughts and lots of things we learned from Titanic. Like, have enough lifeboats. Maybe don't seal the doors shut would be a good one on this one.
Well, see, having a lot of lifeboats, that was already done. That was done because of the Britannia.
Okay, well, but I'm going with the traditional story of Titanic in that there were insufficient lifeboats because, in part, they thought the ship was unsinkable.
Right, but what I'm saying is the regulations, and this is what they were fined for, was the regulations required so many lifeboats. And they skipped those regulations going, nah, we're not going to follow them. What are they going to do?
Didn't think they needed to. Didn't think you could bring the ship down. It was humongous. Like, you can't bring it down. Turned out it wasn't that hard. But that was because it encountered a situation that it was never designed for.
Right.
Like, this hadn't occurred and anyone survived to figure out what happened.
Right.
With this kind of ship, to know that this is what would happen in certain circumstances.
Right.
Like, a lot of things went wrong that night.
Right.
So, and in the maiden voyage itself, and in the pre-maiden voyage, and in the design of the ship, and so many things went wrong with Titanic that brought it down.
Right.
Because it all basically was a house of cards waiting for something to go wrong.
Right.
That's the story of Titanic. Meanwhile, humongous ship.
Right.
For its time.
Right.
And still pretty effing big by today's standards. Like, if you pull this up to your local marina, they're going to tell you, thanks, you just, like, flipping tipped everything.
Yeah. Thanks for
We don't have a slip for that. We don't have a slip for that.
Right.
Get out. Like, that's you can't put that on a lake.
Right.
So it's a pretty big ship. That was like finding a needle in a haystack. Now we're supposed to hope that in 30 years' time, everything has jumped another generation or two forward,
right,
to make this all go faster.
Well, the good thing here is they have maps of the floor. Okay, they have a plot line. Okay, so they have an idea of what's there because of all the research for the Titanic. As long as they have that area. But I'm mad for 2 points. One, I'm mad at the psychic for taking a PR stunt. Fuck off, dude. They don't need your shit right now. They need your energy. They need your flow. They need your focus on keeping the life forms in that boat. They do not need you fucking around down there. 2, why are they visiting a graveyard?
Oh, come on. You're telling me if you got the opportunity to go tour the wreckage of Titanic, you wouldn't go?
No.
Oh, I'm there.
No, I'm
Like,
not there. I have enough conversations when I go to the main graveyard. Much less to go
okay,
to
fair
the
enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. But okay, but it wasn't a boat full of, or it wasn't a sub full of psychics.
Again, no thank you.
I know, but I'm saying, like, because I don't have the same, like, abilities and stuff. I'm saying, I'm there. Put me in. But, like, I'll accept the fact you're screwing bolts behind me and I can't take them out and I'm stuck here for 96 hours at most until I expire. I'm going down. I want to see. I want to see. I want to see. No, I'm there. I'm there. I'm totally like, yes, please.
No, thank you. I don't want to see the repeaters floating in the water. I don't want to see the captain still walking the ship. I don't want to see the shoes and china on the ground with pieces and food still on them. No, thank you.
Okay. Like, well, and most of it's covered by coral now because we are talking over 110 years,
It
112.
doesn't matter. Shit, no kumbus.
Well, okay, fair enough. If you are saying you're going to see it as it fell, not the 100 years plus of which again I kind of think would be cooler, but that's just me.
It's
I
like the
understand there's a risk.
secretary.
Do what now?
It's like the secretary,
I know.
just bigger.
Okay.
You can go ahead and tell that story.
Well, yeah, that's kind of a short story. Our family had an unfortunate gift. A great uncle of mine, and my dad were pretty much raised side by side. They were a couple of years apart in age, I do believe. And effectively, one Christmas, Dad found out he was getting a train set. So his cousin assumed he was getting a train set. They were both very excited for their train sets because they usually got mirrored gifts. This was a thing between my grandmother and her sister. And that is not at all what happened. Well, so yeah, sorry, a cousin, not an uncle. I got the lineage wrong there for a second. Anyway, so he was all excited. He was getting a train set. Christmas morning, he woke up. He got a secretary. And if you don't know what a secretary is, it is a piece of furniture. It has a bookcase on top. It has a little writing desk and storage drawers on the bottom. It is about like 7 foot tall. They're very pretty. They're very pretty pieces of furniture. They were slightly expensive pieces of furniture. It is nothing like a train set, especially not if you're like, I don't know, a 12, 13-year-old boy. It is a very big disappointment on Christmas morning to get a secretary when you're expecting a train set. So what fundamentally happened to this is he didn't want it. He wanted nothing to do with it and never wanted to be reminded of its existence. So it stated his mother's as he went off about his life, and then his mother died, and it passed to my grandmother because there was nowhere else for it to go. And for years, we tried to get him to take it, or she did, tried to get him to take it, tried to get his son to take it, tried to get many people to take it. No one wanted anything to do with the secretary. And fundamentally, it became furniture that my grandmother didn't own that was in her home because no one wanted it. But she didn't feel it was appropriate for her, who didn't technically own it, to throw it out. So then she passed. At which point, the executive decision was made that the entire family had had plenty of ample time in her lifetime, because we're talking about an event that took place back in the 1950s, early 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
Many people had many opportunities in the ensuing, 60 some years to come collect this damn thing. So then it became a question of, so which one of us wants it? And I'm like, I do not want that stupid thing. I have moved it from one side of this house to the other. It has never fit in a single place it has ever been put. Like, it was unwieldy. It was pretty, but a lot of things changed in 60 years and made this furniture redundant. And quite frankly, it never fit her house. It never went with her house. It didn't go appropriately in any space it ever got put in. Like, you had to have designed a room around it, and I certainly wasn't going to be the first to design a room around it. So it ended up with my brother. And then it ended up part of his estate.
Well, yes, but the bigger point of that,
Um,
I start staying at the house, and I keep walking around this hallway.
yeah. Oh, yeah. The spot in the hallway.
Yes.
Why can I not live in a house with things that are imaginary that people walk around? But he did. He kept walking around this one spot in the hallway, and I kept looking at him funny every time he did it. And I'm like, so finally I had to be like, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know. I just keep having this weird feeling like something used to set here or something sets here, and I'm supposed to walk around it. And it cracked me up because that was one of the many places that it lived in this house. It was the longest tenancy it had, was sitting in a hallway, and you had to scooch past it to get around it for many, 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 many years, until my grandmother ended up on a cane and then a walker, and we moved it so that it was no longer in the way. Yeah, sorry, I skipped the good part of the story. Sorry.
Yes.
My life is filled with things that have been walked around that don't exist anymore.
Uh-huh.
Like, I grew up in a house that originally had a giant, like, I think it was 3x3 or 4x4. I don't know. I was a little kid when we finally took it out. Though I probably still have scars on my feet from it. Floor grate heater. As in one of the ones, it's a big giant grate. It's gas fueled, and it's just radiating heat. Like, it's just this little combustible heat source with a gas line to it, and it radiates heat with I think there's like a little blower, maybe. That was what heated my childhood home. I don't know. Was there not a blower? I can't remember.
Those suckers. They're just hot as hell. I've got scars on my feet and hands from them.
Yeah, a lot of people do. Because it's the first lesson in don't touch hot that most of us get. Like, don't walk on it. It's hot. And so, yeah, we all did the circle around, because it got ingrained. Walk around it. Walk around it. Walk around it. Don't walk across it. Walk around it. Don't care if you're wearing shoes. Walk around it. And so we took this out in, like, I don't know, 1990, 1989, somewhere in there, 91.
Right.
I was still, like, I wasn't all that old. I was like 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there. I still walked around it. The last time I was in the house, I walked around it.
Yeah.
And, like, it's been gone. It's gone. It's been gone.
Right.
I know it's not there anymore. I still walk around it. Meanwhile, it was the same as, like, my dad, and eternally checking under his recliner, because we used to have a dog that would curl up under his recliner. So every time he went to, like, fold the legs down, he'd start reaching and digging under the recliner to move the dog. The dog died before I was born.
Mm-hmm.
Long before I was born.
Mm-hmm.
Long before Dad got this chair, or the chair before it, or the chair before that, and quite frankly, up until he passed away, he was
Right.
still reaching under the recliner to move the dead dog.
Right.
Like, I did not have a dog in childhood.
Yeah.
Did not get to have a dog for 18 plus years.
Till now.
Do what now?
Well, you own a dog now.
Well, technically, I own a couple.
Well, effectively, one is yours. He
But
is
yeah,
your dog.
yeah, but this is the whole point of it,
Mm-hmm.
is that no, he kept trying to move a dog that no longer existed.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's lots of these little things that like we get stuck on.
Right.
Like, you learn, don't do that, or it becomes a hazard, so you get used to checking for it, or walking around it, or moving around it, or don't stub your toe on it because it effing hurts.
Mm-hmm.
The secretary, it had some massive legs on it that protruded.
Yeah, but the whole point was that it wasn't there. I never saw it there. It was gone before I came.
And I wonder if some of it could have been like just trying to explain a little.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was you sense the presence of it previously being there and everyone who walked there before you,
Mm-hmm.
or if some of it was like influenced by watching me walk through the house, and I probably still walked around it.
I don't know. I've always felt it was there, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell was there because there was another whole bedroom. I was like, I don't like that room either.
Oh, which room? The front bedroom or one of the two back ones?
The front bedroom, I hated that furniture in there because we moved it from the
Oh,
front bedroom to the other room, and I hated that furniture.
that whole room had issues.
Yes.
Like that was a long
Right.
laundry list of things that went wrong with that room. It had goals and intentions and beliefs and aspirations when it was built originally in 1964.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them failed.
Right.
It used to, and my grandmother's iteration of it was the guest room, and it had an air conditioner. The only air conditioner in the house was in that
Mm-hmm.
room. And yeah.
That would have been the perfect office room for somebody. That's what it should have been designed for.
Well, yeah, but unfortunately, what it became was the repository of dead people crap.
Well, again, no. Don't like it. Didn't like it. Furniture felt slimy. No.
Well, again, that's because all the furniture in that room was her dead sisters,
Uh-huh.
including the stuff that was in the dresser was her dead sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't understand that for the longest time.
Right.
Is that everything in that room was her dead sisters?
Right.
And I'm like, oh, oh, oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh. Many things went wrong with that room.
Right. Well, it's kind of like,
Oh, Brenda points out doesn't mean the dog wasn't still there. Well, Dad basically kept Candy in his chair, so there's a good chance.
right.
Because if you're talking Horcruxes, a
Mm-hmm.
bag of Hershey Kisses could have brought that dog back from the other side. Nothing else needed.
Exactly.
It was its favorite food.
All right, so let's take a break. When we come back, we need to talk about something even more disturbing that is on the rise.
All right.
Hey everybody, Lady Gwendolyn here from Rowan Temple of Light, and I'm here to tell you about our events this summer. First up is Beltane in the Hills, May 13th, and that is from 1 to 6. We have entertainment, we have a bunch of vendors, we have a fairy photo shoot. It's going to be exciting. You having any questions, reach out to Earth Magic or to myself. After that, we have Central West Virginia Pagan Pride, August 19th. That's at Holly Gray Park from 11 to 5 for the day. And we will have Sarah Masters coming down from Pittsburgh to be our keynote speaker. We have some great classes for that. So if you want to get involved, reach out to RowanTempleOfLight@gmail, or just follow us along on Facebook at Rowan Temple of Light, and we look forward to seeing you out in the community. See you there.
Welcome back, Goblins! My name is Jason, and I am the host of the Esoteric Book Club, a podcast that examines titles on the magical, paranormal, the mysterious, and the strange. I release 2 episodes a month, in which I review books on esoteric topics, recap news of the weird, and conduct interviews with authors, practitioners, and experiencers. The Esoteric Book Club can be found on every major podcast service, or can be streamed directly from esotericbookclub.org.
Hi, I'm Aeson Knight. I provide tarot readings covering everything from love and relationships to your life questions and your most spiritual answers. And also, I provide a lot of guidance in finances and divorces and all those relationship problems. So, if you'd like to get a reading from me privately, not on air, you can feel free to do so by visiting aesonknight.com and booking your appointment. I also provide on-demand services, so if your life is a little chaotic, you can go ahead and click that Call Now button there on my site. It'll connect you to Keen, and if you've not been with Keen before, you'll get 3 free minutes to talk with me, so that's great for a quick answer question. All right, guys, back to the show. Enjoy. Bye, y'all.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I provide a blended reading consisting of mediumship, psychic, and tarot cards. A reading from me can cover any guidance you need from relationships with your partner or your family, spiritual, financial, any questions you may need clarity on. If you would like to book an appointment with me, check out my website, tracyvan.com. That's TracyVann.com. I have bookings from 15 to 60 minutes you may choose from. That helps if you just have a quick question, need an answer, or if you're looking for a reading in more depth, I'm here to provide the guidance and clarity for you. Let's just figure it out. Bye.
All right, welcome back. All right, so let's go into this because this is distressing.
Okay, so remind me again which one we're on.
We are on Twitch streamers' car getting burned.
All right. So, yeah, popular streamer announces break after Twitch viewer finds her house sets her car on fire. In a YouTube video uploaded on June 13th, Twitch streamer Kylie Carter, professionally known as Just Foxy, shared that a viewer had recently set her car on fire. The person allegedly drove 700 miles to Carter's house 2 weeks prior to the video upload while Carter had been on vacation. Carter said she woke up to a call from her mom, who was at the house at the time, who said her car was burning and she'd called the police. I didn't know what to do. I was very far from home, Carter explained in the video. Security cameras on the property caught a man walking up to the car, placing a brick in a big pot on the hood, and then setting whatever was in the pot on fire. Carter included the security footage in her YouTube video. I just couldn't believe that I was watching my car that I worked so hard for just burn, she said. For somebody to take that from me was very hurtful. According to Carter, the fire spread so quickly from the top of the car that it moved toward a nearby fence and ended up burning the side of her house. Her mom and her pets were inside the house. The person who did this to me is arrested and the police are handling everything, Carter explained. That's honestly the most important thing. Carter also admitted in the video that this isn't the first time she's dealt with something like this. She called the past year and a half insane. I was dealing with other issues for a long time, like stalker type things, she said. That's obviously been very draining for me, as you can imagine. A number of content creators have had to deal with viewers taking their fandoms to an uncomfortable and sometimes dangerous level. Twitch streamer XQC has had to move multiple times after fans kept finding out where he lived and tried to break in. Streamer Morinth recently dealt with a stalker who allegedly flew from Estonia and showed up at her house multiple times before being arrested. Quote, "We're all traumatized," Carter said. "I just never thought that when I started streaming back in 2015 that something like this would ever happen to me." Carter has also announced she would be taking a break from streaming, adding that she didn't feel motivated because of everything else that was going on. She did not specify what that entailed and said she couldn't get into details. "I assume that I'll have a follow-up video later," she said. "Thank you to my genuine supporters."
Sure. Yes, this has been going on more. Yeah, this has been going on more and more. People are getting.
Well, because before this, the worst thing that you feared as a streamer, YouTube, Twitch, whatever platform you're on, the biggest thing you feared, truly feared, was swatting.
Right.
And that, and I'm trying to be delicate, I really am, falls into the category of a horrible prank that no one understands what they're doing, going horribly, 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 horribly wrong.
Right.
As in, that is very easily someone who isn't thinking about the consequences of their actions and what it means when you call the police and do this and get someone swatted, because SWAT teams don't fuck around.
Right.
They really, truly don't. And if you are someone who understands the consequences of that and the fact that someone can legitimately die because of you swatting them, and you get off on that, please seek help.
Quickly.
Please seek help. Because that's not normal. That's very antisocial. And hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
And if you're streaming, install security. Yeah. Install security quickly. Ring has a lovely program. I don't care what you get. Doesn't have to be high class, high ras. Get you some loud ass dogs.
But just keep moving it up as you keep going.
Exactly. Because sorry, this has now become part of the industry and part of the problems in the industry, just like the psychics are part of the problems in the industry. And that's to be protected. You know, that's why we have lovely security programs. We have security in place. We don't talk about a lot of our security we have in place. The things we talk about is the least you need to worry about. Is all I'll say.
But so and I mean, I don't know where to classify this. Is this worse than being swatted?
Yes.
I mean, because there's a level of this that again, I can almost see swatting as being a prank gone horribly wrong.
Right.
Like, you think it's funny. It is very serious. And people keep doing it because they get off on the power trip, is the general understanding. Okay, to drive to someone's house, to one, figure out where they live, drive to someone's house, set something on fire, and do so in a way like...
And make sure that they're on, because you can see in the video, I know you didn't watch the video, but you can see him watching her on stream.
Thinking she's home.
Making sure she's home and active on stream. Now, you know, and you've made comments, the house could blow apart. As long as I'm in my office, I don't know the world's going on.
Right. Right. As long as the dogs don't flip their gasket.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise, yeah, no, everything else in the house, as long as it doesn't interrupt the stream, doesn't occur.
Right.
Like, and to some degree, same for me. I'm on the other end of the house,
right.
So I have a different perspective of things that would be like, okay, what's going on?
Right.
But at the same time,
right,
anything over on one side of the house, I've got nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, I'm going to need someone to tell me the house is on fire.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm going to need someone to tell me someone's here.
Right.
So, yeah, Brenda says, I don't understand obsession with famous people or just people.
Right.
I want, and don't quote me on this, but if I remember, like, looking into at one point, like, house, like, stalkers work, because let's just call it what it is. It's stalking. No matter whether it ends horribly or, it's just annoying nuisance and everything in between.
Right.
It's still stalking. You're still obsessing about a person and getting and attempting contact with them that they do not desire.
Exactly.
Like, that's stalking.
Right.
So stalking can sometimes be part of a mental disorder where you unfortunately get a wire crossed and think that they're straight up talking to you. That everything they're doing is for you. That when they say, hey, I do it for you guys, you don't hear the plural. And you feel like they're legitimately straight up talking to you and they're sending you coded messages. Because it's this, like, you're stuck in a weird, like, confirmation circuit. That you want this, so you think they want this, so everything they do confirms to you that they want this, and it snowballs totally out of control. I think it also has something to do with profound loss or profound loneliness, if I remember right. That typically people who end up stalking are generally people who have severe issues making connection or have profound loss around an important connection. And it makes it basically it fills a void. Like, it's a transference, if I remember right.
Well, it can be many different things.
Yeah. Like, but it's what creates the obsessive part of it.
Right.
Is that, like, in one context, if the contact, the relationship were wanted, in many cases, what they're doing would not inherently be a problem.
Right.
Some of it. It's one that the contact's unwanted and you're not understanding, please stop. The second part of it is because it doesn't get acknowledged for, like, lovingly and appreciatively, it jumps to a next level.
Right.
And starts moving into the profoundly creepy. Like, not just because it's creepy enough if someone's sending you love letters and you don't know who they are. It's creepy when someone's talking about, obsessively being with you and you don't know who they are. But when they move into the category of, like, going through your trash, sending you really odd gifts, threatening to harm you unless they can have you, like, that's when it moves into profoundly creepy. And everything after that is like, holy, what is this?
Right. And, it can get creepier. And when you go into this world, podcasting, we bring you into our offices, we're up to 5 times a week now. You get a very much personal relationship with us.
Right.
We want that. We also do not want you coming to our house and burning down our shit. Or, that's why, like, there's been a few times that our patrons have mailed us something or one of the. Well, she's a
We
patron,
kind
but
of
she's
freak
also
out.
a host.
Yeah.
Milda stuff.
We also kind of freak out.
Yeah,
like-
we freak out.
Like, please tell us that a package will be arriving. Like, if we know you, please tell us there's a package arriving. If we don't know you and we suddenly have a package, we get very nervous.
Right.
If we have a package that we haven't ordered, and don't know is coming, we get very nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, one of the funniest, and you can go back and watch the show if you want. It's I think a year or so ago. We did have a bit of a meltdown panic when a box showed up. We haven't ordered anything. We don't know what it is or who it's from, or like we've never had contact with the company it's from. We don't know what this is.
Yeah.
And so we literally had a moment, I believe, like you just basically went through everyone we know and went, did you send us anything?
That, and I took it outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it got opened outside.
Oh, yeah. It just lived outside for a little while. Because
Right.
we're like, we don't know what's in this. We don't know if what it says it is what it is. Like, did someone order something, reuse the box to ship us something so we think we were getting a package from this company?
Right.
Like, what is this?
Right.
So we were very freaked out. And then finally, we find out dear sweet Lady Gwendolyn, whom we love dearly, decided to surprise us. And boy, did she ever.
Yeah.
By ordering us Psychic Coffee Shop mugs.
Right.
And okay, our like we had a couple of moments with that. One was just a pure relief of, okay, this is legit. It's from someone we know.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lovely surprise. We are very, very happy to have received. So like, yay, relief. And then we had a conversation where it's like, okay, that was amazing. Next time, can you give us a heads up?
Yeah.
That you sent something so that we know to expect something, because we had a whole panic because we're like, this is it. This is a bomb. This is a bomb.
Right.
It's got to be a bomb. It has to be a bomb. It must be
Right.
a bomb. Just to have that sudden relief that it's not. We do not have to call the police. We do not have to do all the things.
Right. Because at this point, we'll go into a little bit more detail here.
Mm-hmm.
I get weird mail all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I get obituaries sent to me.
Yeah, like you already have one creepy ass stalker.
I have two. One hasn't been able to find me for a while.
Well, right, but we are already cognitively, functionally dealing with one creepy ass stalker.
Mm-hmm.
And like shit has happened, and it has nothing to do with the show. It's thankfully personal.
Right.
Like it started personal, it's been personal, like and attached to you. Though it has shown its ugly head towards me.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think honestly in the beginning of our relationship when that happened, you really thought that's it. He's bolting. He's gonna bolt. He's gonna bolt.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not gonna be able to chill with this and be okay with it. He's gonna bolt.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had a whole moment. You just started apologizing for what your stalker did.
Yeah.
But you really hadn't told me a lot in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay, I have questions.
Yeah.
And so we sat down, and you were like long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs with it, because it's like, he's going to bolt at any minute. He's going to bolt. He's going to bolt. He's going to bolt. He can't handle this. No one can handle this. And I'm like, okay, so what's going on? And you told me what's going on. And I went, so basically,
Mm-hmm.
your stalker took an educated guess that most likely you are now in a relationship and took an action against both of us, technically.
Yeah.
Because they're upset about that.
Right.
And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, and basically you're expecting me to take this out on you and run away from the relationship because of this other crazy ass person.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically, I don't mean to call people names, but we're going to go with this. Okay.
Sorry. He's earned that title.
You know, like, I'm sorry, I have to call the behavior what it is. It's kind of crazy. But you know, I try not to be mean. I really do. But like in this one, I got nothing else to describe it. If you got other words, let me hear the words, because I would love to have better ways to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so he did a thing. You expect me to break up with you, run away from you because of what they did, because you did absolutely nothing abnormal.
Right.
And I'm not supposed to deal with this. I'm supposed to just like bolt and run away. And I'm like, okay, who hurt you? One. Two, no, really, who hurt you? And three, like, is this how other people have reacted? Because you didn't do this. You have an ex that, or someone that's obsessive with you,
Mm-hmm.
that is, you know, doing things. That's not your fault. You're not responsible for that. Like, is it attached to you? Is this part of dating you? Yes. But it's not your fault. You cannot control this.
Right.
Like, you cannot control their behavior. Nothing you have done has controlled their behavior. We just have to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not in a positive way. Like, we're not like, oh, thanks, give me another. But more so in a sense of, this is what they do.
Right.
And that's part of the price of admission for dating you, is you, like, this is part of it. Like, welcome, like, this is your horrible, shitty swag. And you just go, okay, well, that's the shitty swag bag. Great. Where's the good swag bag? I would like one of those to compensate.
Right.
But otherwise,
you got one of those, but that's not for air anyhow.
That's a whole other story.
Right.
So,
but,
you know, here's your shitty swag bag, and you know, hi. And you move on. And more importantly, we upgraded your security.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, okay, one, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And two, no, that's not your fault. That is in no way your fault.
Right.
Like, so, and
you know, if you're in the public, you have to take precautions. We've gone over this 142 times. We need to go over it again. If you're in streaming, you need to have more precaution. Like, I have the ability to see most of my house from my desk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't depend on the boys to be awake for me to see the house.
Oh, yeah. Shannon's like, yeah, I didn't want to come off as creepy, so I was just, I got you a surprise. Where can I send it? Like a P.O. box?
Yeah.
And no, Shannon's amazing. We love Shannon. We know Shannon. Like, we've met Shannon in public. We're around other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know. We're fine with that. But yeah, the
Brenda,
other...
I love Brenda. Her cheesecake was amazing.
Well, but we've told this before, and we'll tell it again. Like, the first time she offered to bring cheesecake, I was like, oh, okay, that's great. And you, like, because you were telling me about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's great, awesome. And then she did, and then there was a legit moment, like, she left. It was like, oh, thank you so much. This is really amazing. We'll really enjoy this, I'm sure. Yep. And I literally legitimately looked at him and said, do we actually eat this?
Yes.
Or do we just throw it away and pretend how awesome it was? Like, tell me what the scenario is here.
Yeah, what's the protocol?
And you just kind of looked at me and I said, I don't know. Like, I'm already dealing with one stalker who does some insane things.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a couple of other people that send some really oddball messages. I'm trying to ascertain,
Mm-hmm.
like, where is Brenda on this list? Like,
Brenda is under the call her because we're in Clarksburg.
okay, versus like call the cops. We're in Clarksburg.
Yeah. All right, now back to here we go, dialing for dollars or multi-million-dollar psychic. I cannot believe this is a thing.
Alrighty, so Canadian man convicted in multi-million-dollar psychic mass mailing fraud scheme. A federal jury in the Eastern District in New York convicted a Canadian man today for perpetrating a decades-long mass mailing fraud scheme that stole more than $175 million from victims in the United States. According to court documents and evidence presented at trial, Patrice Runner, 57, a Canadian and French citizen, operated a mass mailing fraud scheme from 1994 through November 2014. As part of the scheme, Runner sent letters to millions of U.S. consumers, many of whom were elderly and vulnerable. The letters falsely purported to be individualized personal communications from so-called psychics, including Maria Duval, leading this type of fraud scheme to be referred to as Maria Duval scam, and promised that the recipient had the opportunity to achieve great wealth and happiness with the psychic's assistance in exchange for payment of a fee. Once a victim made a simple payment in response to one of the letters, the victim was bombarded with dozens of additional letters, all purporting to be personalized communications from the psychics and offering additional services and items for a fee. Although the scheme's letters frequently stated that a psychic had seen a personalized vision regarding the recipient of the letter, in fact, the scheme sent nearly identical form letters to tens of thousands of victims each week. Runner and his co-conspirators obtained the names of elderly and vulnerable victims by running and trading mailing lists with other mail fraud schemes. In reality, the so-called psychics identified in the letters sent by these schemes had no role in sending the letters, did not receive responses from the victims, and did not send the additional letters after victims paid money. Some victims made dozens of payments in response to the fraudulent letters, losing thousands of dollars. Runner directed the scheme for the entirety of its 20-year operation, providing instructions to co-conspirators who ran the day-to-day operations through a Canadian company. Runner used a series of shell companies registered in Canada and Hong Kong to hide his involvement in the scheme while living in multiple foreign countries, including Switzerland, France, and the Netherlands, Costa Rica, and Spain. Runner was extradited from Spain to the United States in December 2020. This case exemplifies the commitment of the Department of Justice's Consumer Protection Branch and its partners in the U.S. Postal Inspection Service into investigating and prosecuting fraud schemes targeting Americans, no matter where in the world those schemes originate, said Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General Brian M. Boynton, head of the Justice Department Civil Division. We work with our law enforcement partners in the United States and around the world to bring to justice criminals who target Americans. For over 20 years, Patrice Runner managed a predatory scheme that targeted older Americans by mailing personalized letters to millions of victims purporting to be from a world-renowned psychic. Yesterday's verdict should have come as no surprise to Mr. Runner, said Inspector in Charge Chris Nielsen of the Postal Inspection Service's Philadelphia Division. Postal inspectors are committed to protecting American consumers by eliminating these fraudulent mailings from the mail stream. So Runner was convicted of conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud, 8 counts of mail fraud, 4 counts of wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. He was found not guilty on 4 counts of mail fraud. Runner will be sentenced at a later date and faces a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison on each count. He remains in prison pending sentencing. A federal district court judge will determine any sentence after considering the U.S. sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. Four other people previously pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit mail fraud in connection with this mass mailing fraud scheme. Maria Thanos, 59, of Montreal, Canada. Philip Lett, 52, of Montreal, Canada. Sherry Gore, 72, of Indiana. And Danielle Arnold, 61, of Connecticut. The U.S. Postal Inspection Service investigated the case. Assistant Director John W. Burke and trial attorneys Charles B. Dunn, Rachel Barron, and Ann Entwistle of the Justice Department's Consumer Protection Branch are prosecuting the case. The Justice Department's Office of International Affairs worked with law enforcement partners in Spain to secure the arrest and extradition of Runner.
Right.
All right, so the department urges individuals to be on the lookout for lottery, prize notification, and sweepstakes scams. If you receive a phone call, letter, or email promising a large prize in exchange for a fee, do not respond. Fraudsters often will use official sounding names or the name of real lotteries or sweepstakes, or pretend to be a government agent purportedly helping to secure a prize.
Right. Now,
all right. And then it goes on to the fraud tips and what to do if you suspect you or someone you know, blah, blah, blah. We'll give that really quickly. So if you think this is happening to you or someone you know, if they are over 60 or older, that number for the National Elder Fraud Hotline is 1-833-FRAUD-11. Again, that number is 1-833-372-8311. That's a U.S. Department of Justice hotline managed by the Office for Victims of Crime and can provide support in and services for those callers. All right.
So Maria was a real psychic.
So Maria Duvall, real person, her name and image is out there. She is doing the things,
she is
living
retired.
her life, doing her work.
No, she's retired. She's had to retire.
Okay. But 20 years ago she was retired?
She had to retire in mid-90s. She sold the rights to her name.
Oh, shit.
Okay. This is if you are a psychic, pay the fuck attention.
Yeah, don't sell rights to your name without some control.
No, she sold the rights to her name to a group of scammers. She didn't know they were scammers. She thought they were a business who used the name to sell astrology charts. So she thought she sold her business.
Okay, so worst case scenario, like you think you're getting a chart from Maria Duvall. It's not really a chart from Maria Duvall.
Right.
Maybe it's a shittily prepared chart, but you got something semi-legitimate or at least moderately legitimate for what you paid for just with her branding on it.
Exactly. But this was mid-90s when she retired.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? She sold her business to retire.
Mm-hmm.
The scammers turned the business into a scam and used her name and likeness and image and business for millions of dollars. Unfortunately, this poor French lady has been retired since the mid-90s, is no longer performing readings. Unfortunately, she suffered a stroke in 2008. And in 2013 was diagnosed with dementia. So she's even not okay. She's not.
So she hasn't worked at this point in 28 years, and this
if she's still alive, because they can't even. Right. She can't even. No one can even say. She can't even post at her name that she has crossed over because she sold her name. Do not do this.
Well, but 28 years ago she retired. 20 years ago the scam started. It took them 8 years to get to that point.
Right.
After she retired, there was already one scam involving selling misleading product.
Right.
And scam might be a hard word to use on that one because it was a legitimate product. They licensed her name. They slapped it on it as branding.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably, that is a legitimate product.
Right.
But did consumers really understand
Right.
that what they were buying was just a branded thing with her name on it and not actually created by her, personally interpreted by her, from her?
Right. They didn't know that. They didn't see that. This poor woman has been through the ricker.
Well, of reputation. Like, she
Well,
built
not
her
only of
entire
reputation.
career, lived her entire career, did her entire career, and then, okay, fine, you want to sell some product with my name on it, you want to use my image to advertise some shit, that's cool, you're a business, here you go, pay me money.
Right.
Like, I'm out.
Right. Did not even assume, did not even know, just assumed like, fine, I'm retiring. You want to buy my business, buy my business.
Thinking maybe they were just buying the client list and,
Right.
going to market those clients to other psychics.
Right. Or the
Maybe
Maria.
put out
It was
some
pitched
branded
to
product.
her, quite like a few pitches we have heard here lately, pitched to me.
Mm-hmm.
We'll buy your brand, we'll buy your customer list, we'll buy your login information for this amount of money, and you can retire and your legacy will live on.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to build a network, we're going to do yada, yada, yada.
And granted, 28 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
28 years ago,
Right.
that would have, because a lot's happened in 28 years, let me tell you. 28 years ago, it would have been very legitimate for someone to think, wow, that's really awesome.
Right.
And sell out.
Mm-hmm.
And be like, hi, I'm retiring. Go ahead, take it over. I really want to see, someone continue to service these clients. I really hope it helps. Let the next generation build a business on my coattails.
Right.
I'll be,
And I'm wondering how much they offered her.
Sadly, probably not a whole lot, especially compared to what all's happened. Something tells me it's going to be like 50,000, 100,000. Probably enough to start a decent retirement nest egg.
Okay, you go 28 years ago, and I believe, yes, 24,000, 240, 0.000 French money.
$240 in what, Canadian?
No, French.
Okay, so 240,000 francs. No, not francs. That's German. Oh, good Lord. This is going to be fun. No, that was the franc. I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
The French franc and United States dollar in 1995.
Huh.
Okay. Ooh, that wasn't a lot of money.
It was about what I was offered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
28 years and the price of a name hasn't gone up. Damn. That's something inflation doesn't help.
Yeah, because one French franc in 1995 was the equivalent, and this is December of 95, roughly 20% of $1.
Right.
So, yeah. So, $48,000 was all she was offered.
Yeah.
In US dollars back in 95. Which back then, 28 years ago, that was a larger number.
Right.
People were still, that was a very good down payment on a house.
Right. Or a nice nest egg. I mean, she made a good bit of money. I mean, she was the French Sylvia Brown.
Right.
Okay.
So if all of her needs were met, she didn't have to immediately touch it, immediately dumped it into an investment account with a marginal return.
Mm-hmm.
Conceivably, that's helped pad her significantly.
Right. So with that, you would think, great, she's retired. She'll do a few ad spots. A couple years. They'll be able to take over and transfer the list, whatever, transfer the customer base, all of that.
Yeah.
No, it turned into this big old scam, and she got harassed like recently. I would say probably, well, according to this, it was around 2008, right before her stroke. The French police came and searched her house
Well, that
because they were
makes
trying to
sense.
track who this was.
Well, yeah, because everything's going out as Maria Duval.
Right.
So, of course, you go to whose name is on the letter? Maria
Right.
Duval. Maria
Right.
Duval, why are you sending letters asking for money
Right.
to all these vulnerable elder adults?
Right.
And she's sitting there going, I did what?
Well, she's sitting there going, sorry, I'm retired.
Huh. Like, I retired a while back.
Yeah. Why are you bugging me?
And there's a good chance, and I'm not saying like at her age there wasn't an opportunity for her to have naturally just had a stroke.
Right.
But one could argue that the added stress of finding out your reputation's being used to scam people,
Mm-hmm.
having authorities show up at your house and search it,
Mm-hmm. Getting lawsuits.
yeah,
Having,
all these things could easily contribute to someone who's already at risk of a stroke
mm-hmm.
having a stroke.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of stress.
Right. But and I am like, are you kidding me? When I saw this story, because this story has been one I followed and made note of, is like, never sell your brand, never sell your name, never believe a damn thing someone tells you.
Well, I'm not saying it's impossible to do
Right.
this and have it work out. I mean, I think it's possible.
Right.
I think you have to keep a lot of creative control in that contract, and a lot of these contracts are presented by companies to the person whose branding they're buying,
Mm-hmm.
and they're full license.
Yeah.
We're going to take your name and image and we'll slap it on, on a pedophilia how to do kit.
Right.
You have no control. You cannot argue that you didn't approve this, that whatever. You did. It's right here in writing. All rights. You signed all rights.
Right.
With no content control, with no ability to opt out.
Right.
With
no ability.
No ability.
Like, when you sell your name, you literally cannot sign a check.
Well, depending, was she one of the original smart ones that was using an alternative name?
No.
Oh, so legitimately she sold her birth name.
Yeah.
Seriously? Okay,
Seriously.
see, that's so yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, she did not. She was one of the original smart ones. Maria Duval, born as Maria Carolina Gamba.
Mm-hmm.
So she was one of the ones using an alternative name.
No.
Well,
that was her married name.
Oh. Well, but she could have gone backwards and just...
She could have gone backwards, but not. Maria Duval was Maria Duval. Like, that was her name. And she sold out. And then got very quickly with, oh my gods. Yeah. So, you be careful if you're in this industry. Take the stories of our predecessors and go, no, not doing this. Nice offer, but not doing this. All right. I'm glad they're starting to shut these scams down. It has been a lot of work for federal investigators. multitudes of countries, multitudes of international workings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm just
Yeah.
I really hate but the sad part is this is the whole reason they're probably shutting these scams down now
Mm-hmm.
is because this is such an old scam.
Right.
It's so long in the tooth. 20 years?
Right.
20 years? Like, come on, man.
Like the
20
scammers
years?
are retiring from the scam.
Should be.
Yeah.
Like, one of the co-conspirators was 70-some years old. Fucking retire, woman.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus, aren't you done?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that was, like, what was it, $100 and some million?
Yeah.
You're telling me you didn't get enough out of the scam to retire off of? To, like, one day wake up and be like, I'm 70 fucking years old.
Yeah.
I'm
All right,
done.
guys, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll find out if Joe's the asshole.
All righty.
Hi, this is Sandy Starr. I'm a psychic and I work on Keen, and I have been working on Keen for over 22 years. You can reach me on 01068. I deal with a myriad of subjects, but I do specialize in relationships, marriages, divorces. Is he cheating? Is she cheating? Whatever the dynamic of the relationship is, I will guide you through. I've got amazing radar for cheaters, so I will tell you the truth if he or she is cheating. I can help with any subject you need me to help you with besides relationships, and I look forward to hearing from you. Again, you can reach me through Keen. My extension number is 01068. I really look forward to hearing from you and helping you with whatever you need me to help you with.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I'm a psychic medium and I work with tarot cards. I also practice Reiki and access bars. I would like to share with you what a reading with me is like. It is a blended reading of psychic and mediumship, and I deliver these messages exactly as they come through. I'm not going to mince words or add any padding. I am a professional, reliable, and honest communicator. I have readings available anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. You can book a reading with me at tracyvan.com. That's TracyVann.com. And no, I'll always tell you exactly what you need to hear.
Hey everybody, Natalie here from The Pendulum's Path. If you are in need of guidance, direction, spiritual connection, healing, or more, you have come to the right place. I have worked as a psychic and a medium for over 3 years, connecting people from all over the world with their loved ones, giving them insight and guidance into their current situations, their past healings, their blockages, and what they need to know in order for them to have a better future. It would be my absolute honor if you would come to my website at www.thependulumspath.com. Visit my shop. I have a whole bunch of crystals, oils, balms, mystery boxes, and more. And visit my services. I offer 15-minute, 30-minute, and 60-minute sessions. I also have email readings available if you're not comfortable with the one-on-one session with me, or if you just want to try me out. I encourage you to come visit me at the Pendulum's Path, and let's get you back on the right track today.
Hey everybody, Lady Gwendolyn here from Rowan Temple of Light, and I'm here to tell you about our events this summer. First up is Beltane in the Hills, May 13th, and that is from 1 to 6. We have entertainment, we have a bunch of vendors, we have a fairy photo shoot. It's going to be exciting. You having any questions, reach out to Earth Magic or to myself. After that, we have Central West Virginia Pagan Pride, August 19th. That's at Holly Gray Park from 11 to 5 for the day. And we will have Sarah Masters coming down from Pittsburgh to be our keynote speaker. We have some great classes for that. So if you want to get involved, reach out to RowanTempleOfLight@gmail.com, or just follow us along on Facebook at Rowan Temple of Light, and we look forward to seeing you out in the community. See you there.
All right.
Right. Welcome back.
All right, taking it away. Am I the asshole for not packing food for my picky eater? I have one picky eater that just graduated middle school, so next year he will be a high schooler. Before, if we were going somewhere and there was no food he liked, I would pack nuggets or something he will eat. To be honest, I'm sick of it. I can't force him to eat something, but I decided to not help him anymore. He is old enough that if he is going somewhere, he can check what is there, and if he doesn't like it, then pack a sandwich or just suck it up and eat something there. So that's what I'm doing. Well, I told him, and he was not happy. First time we went to a graduation party, he didn't pack anything and didn't want any of the food there, so he went hungry. He did the same thing today and didn't pack anything, so at our aunt's, he went hungry. He told everyone in the family what I am doing, and now everyone is pissed that I'm not feeding him. Am I the asshole? He is old enough to pack food or just eat something there.
You're the asshole.
I'm resisting the urge to throw "you're the asshole" on there.
Okay.
Because I think our ability to slam that one immediately and be like, "You're the asshole," is influenced. Because, okay, some kids are picky eaters. Some people are just picky eaters. They don't like this. They don't like that. They don't want this. They don't want that. They only like this if it's made a certain way. And it's just literal pickiness. One, I think we screw up in society and teach people this is a negative, horrible thing, and everyone should just suck it up and deal.
Mm-hmm.
And to some extent, we do have to find ways to work around it.
Right.
But that's just picky eating.
Right.
Okay, then we have what are actual eating disorders, not anorexia and bulimia, which do have their own set of consequences and issues and other things going on there. But some picky eaters aren't picky eaters.
Right.
And there are two conditions: pediatric food disorder, or I believe that's what it is, pediatric feeding disorder, and avoidant restricted food intake disorder, ARFID. So, and we happen to know about one of those because of someone else.
Right.
And it seems like, and here's the clue in that I think kicked us both off. I would pack nuggets or something he will eat. Because the nugget sets off a red flag in our head, because one of the most common foods for ARFID is chicken nuggets.
Right.
It's this weird commonality. Like it's this weird one food item that seemingly all ARFID people are cool with. Like if you want to create a meeting, I think you can just set out a plate of nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's weird. It's its own weirdo. One food that everyone seems to love. That's not picky eating. Pediatric feeding disorder is not picky eating.
Right.
I understand as a parent, you feel like if you are legitimately dealing with a picky eater, that you've hit a wall of feeling like you're babying someone who's quickly becoming an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And that to some extent, they're gonna have to learn how to function in society. And when mommy can't pack them a lunch anymore.
Right.
And I think some of that becomes relevant to PFD and ARFID. The problem being, if you don't have a valid diagnosis, as in you haven't figured out is this just picky eating, and someone being very, wanting only what they want when they want it, how they want it, or is this part of an actual medical problem?
Right.
You're potentially taking this child that may not be a picky eater, and you are dropping them off the deep end with no tools for survival. Because they don't even understand that they have a condition. You don't understand they have a condition. And you're not actually doing anything to help them move forward. You're just expecting them to, as a ninth grader or soon to be ninth grader, figure all this out.
Right.
That one, I don't think that's fair for any kid. I really don't. I think that's a transitional process that you would want to start by more involving your child in this process, making them part of the process.
Right.
And then transition it over to now they can do it on their own.
Right.
Up and deciding one day, I'm not going to do this for you anymore, figure it the fuck out. That's what you did. You woke up one morning and said, I'm not doing this anymore, figure it the fuck out. I have a tendency to agree with your family why they're pissed. You're neglecting your child. You're neglecting their needs. I can go one step further with that and saying you're potentially medically neglecting your child because right now you just think they're a picky eater. There are other conditions that could be going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing more damage than good by creating an adversarial situation around food.
Right.
Because I'll tell you, for ARFID, not a good plan.
No, because that safe list gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And see, this is my problem. Is it's not about him packing his own food. It's about him, about having food there for him. And if not, it's your responsibility as a parent to have the food there for him.
Right. Well, because the secondary part of suck it up and eat something there, I'll tell you right now, that doesn't happen with ARFID.
No.
That's no, they will continuously go hungry.
Right.
They will continuously avoid food.
Right.
Until they can one way or another get to a safe food.
Right.
And it is very stressful. It is very, because here's the thing, with picky eating, we also have this misconception this is all about getting attention.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that for some picky eaters, specifically picky eaters, it can be about getting attention.
Right.
There's a whole bigger world of what we call picky eating.
Mm-hmm.
Than just attention-seeking picky eating. Like, imagine it's a giant pie.
Mm-hmm.
Now cut out one slice, and that is your attention-seeking picky eaters.
Right.
Everyone else we're calling a picky eater. Some of them are picky eaters. They're not just doing it for attention. They have an issue around food, but it doesn't rise to the level of an eating disorder.
Right.
Some are ARFID, some are PFD.
Right.
And then there are other conditions as well. Like they could be anorexic, they could be bulimic.
Right.
Those are other eating disorders. There's emotional overeating. There's all kinds of things here.
Right.
Like it's a huge pie.
Right.
Probably the worst thing to use to describe an eating disorder is talking about a huge pie, but we're here. It is what it is.
Right.
But only a small fragment of that is attention-seeking. I'm doing this to be an asshole and look at me.
Right.
We treat it like it's everyone in that group.
Right. And
when
it's
it's total.
And see, here's my problem. I'm not even taking this from that point of view. I'm taking it from the point of view of a parent.
Okay.
Okay. I don't care what age they are.
Mm-hmm.
20 to 500. If you're going somewhere, you take, and you know that, here's an example. Joe doesn't eat caramel apples. We know he doesn't eat caramel apples.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to an event that only has caramel apples, why would I not take him an alternative like caramel bits and apples? Because
Well, but in this scenario, okay, but in your scenario, you would have to assume I'm your child. And I'm a fully capable adult. All you got to do is tell me, look, the only thing to eat is caramel apples. And
Right.
I'm going to be like, okay. So what I heard was I'm not
Right.
going to be able to eat anything at this event because I flippin' hate those. I'll go.
Yeah.
I'm like gonna try to pre-eat. I'm gonna probably want to post-eat. I'm probably like not gonna partake in the eating of caramel apples because I'm sorry, I flippin' hate them.
Right. But as a standard, we are in a relationship and I pack food.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, we are.
Well, yeah, and vice versa. I packed your lunch. I
Yeah.
ended up feeding your office, but that was a whole other story.
That's because you pack enough for an army.
I do, because I'm sorry, I grew up and I didn't understand it for many years, and then later I found out, no, I was a fat kid because I thought it was all for me. Mom apparently packed me a lunch she intended just in case I was not required to eat everything in it, which was a total violation of the Clean Plate Club at our house. So I don't know what the hell she was thinking. It was a very disorganized, chaotic thought process.
Right.
But I really think she packed my lunchbox with the intention that, like, if I saw another kid without food, and I'm not saying it never happened, and I did this, like, I didn't care. I had more than enough food. I would give someone whatever. I didn't care.
Right.
But a lot of the time, I ate everything in there. Which was bad. Yeah, I would be checking Google to find foods around the caramel apple event. Exactly, Brenda.
Right.
But I got used to this idea that when you pack a lunch, you pack enough to share. Like I did that when I worked.
Mm-hmm.
Some days I ate everything in my lunchbox. Sometimes I shared a sandwich. Sometimes I came home and threw it away. Like, sorry for the food waste, guys. I like what we know now. But back in the day,
Right.
early 2000s, when we didn't know better,
Right.
I still packed a pretty sizable lunchbox. And if you needed something, you forgot your lunch, whatever, here you go, man.
Right.
I don't have a problem with this. I'll
Right.
pick you up for lunch. I'll take you out for lunch. Whatever
Right.
you need, like get you through the day. I'm cool. And I worked with people that would do much the same. Like I forgot my wallet at home one day.
Mm-hmm.
Coworker was like, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, you don't have to do that. Like, I totally beat my own self up. And it's like,
Mhm.
I'm so stupid. I forgot my wallet. How do I forget my wallet? I'm 20-some years old. Get it together.
Right.
And they're like, we all do it. It happens. Calm down.
Right. By next week. But anyhow,
Yeah, whatever.
what I'm saying overall is human beings. I know that if I go out with mother-in-law number one, that I make sure that there is Diet Coke in the car. If the restaurant does not have it, she drinks Diet Coke. It isn't that hard of a complication.
Right.
Okay? I do not get this mother-ish going, I ain't packing food for my kid. Why wouldn't you? What planet of the imagination did someone say, oh, you get to stop being a mother because he is a quote-unquote picky eater?
Well, because I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that some of the same family members who are pissed off are the same family members that probably gave her shit in the first place for packing him special food.
Mm-hmm.
Because that seems to be a thing around anyone we identify and label as a picky eater.
Mm-hmm.
Is there is this very negative social implication of, like, it's a hostage situation and you're just, cowing to the hostage taker and meeting their demands. And it's like, oh, for God's sakes, we're having this much of a conversation about food?
Yeah. Well, and as a society, we stick so much stuff around food. Manners is wrapped around food. Personal perspective is wrapped around food. Celebration is food. And it's like, one, I hate that concept because, it always puts me in a position every morning that I'm away from the house of, let me fix you breakfast. I'll have coffee. No, let me fix you. So there's that. But also this perception of, you know, getting the clue that if someone doesn't want to eat or drink something, it's their personal damn choice. This, take what you get and force it down.
You have to be polite. You
Yeah.
have to at least try it.
Yeah.
God, how many of us grew up with that one? Please raise your hands.
Yeah.
We'll assume all of you.
All right. And the adverse to that, don't ask for anything.
Mhm. Now, Brenda brings up the point, why isn't the person hosting making something the kid will eat? We always have at least one dish that our picky eaters will eat.
Right.
I think it's really awesome
problem.
when a host does it.
Right. But I think that's the other problem is the host is not used to, and we'll call the kid Oliver. The host is used to Oliver's mother packing nuggies or packing pizza rolls or packing whatever for Oliver. She has not pre-informed anyone but him that she is no longer providing this parenting.
Right. Like, as in, I'm no longer doing this. If you want the kid to eat at your event, you better have food for him.
Right.
Which, again, I think it's nice when a host provides something. I truly do. I think that's a very kind thing. When
Right.
you go out of your way to have a picky eater item or a totally vegan item, to at least acknowledge people exist that have different dietary requirements.
Right.
And make an effort. I don't necessarily feel that's required of a host.
Well, I don't think it's required. I think it's nice. But these are like aunts and uncles, and I would be pissed at the mother too. And here's why I would be pissed at the mother. You did not tell me you weren't doing this.
True.
Okay.
And it's also very problematic for the kid because, quite frankly, a ninth grader, so we're talking, what, 15, 14?
14-ish.
Yeah. They're still in that age group that trying to control, like, one, they're lacking some elements of self-restraint.
Mm-hmm.
That you do learn as you get older. Two, they're still at an age in which trying to filter out, I'm cranky because I'm hungry,
Mm-hmm.
from how it is socially acceptable to behave,
Right.
is a little problematic. Like, they're learning.
Right.
They're learning that, because when a toddler throws a fit because they're hungry, they're a toddler throwing a fit because they're hungry. Feed the fucking kid.
Right.
Just feed the fucking kid. Like, solve the problem. Like, this is it. This is still part of their baby programming. This is what they do.
Yeah.
And we have to grow out of that, and it takes time.
Right.
So at 14, you're starting to understand you can't just throw a temper tantrum every time you're hungry.
Right.
Like, you've gone through that somewhere between like 7 and 12.
Right.
Somewhere in there, you've gotten the message. I can't just throw a temper tantrum every time I'm hungry. Doesn't mean you've fully gotten to the point where it's like, no, I'm totally in control of my behavior. I can recognize the message and signaling from my body that I'm hungry and I need to eat.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also responsible for how I act in every situation. So I cannot reasonably throw this off onto other people. No, 14, you're still allowed to throw this off onto other people because other people are still responsible for you.
Right.
You are not an adult.
Well, but here's the other thing, and this is what gets me, is if this child came to my house right now,
mm-hmm.
We don't have a lot of sugary stuff. Well, we have a diabetic in the house. If his safe foods are Captain Crunch and potato chips, someone's making a quick run to Kroger's before dinner's served.
Yeah, just tell me. Just tell me.
Right. What
Like,
the
I will
mother,
make
yeah,
a trip to the store.
what the mother has failed to do is inform the other people that she's no longer doing this.
Well, and it is considered like, and if you want to go old school manners,
Mm-hmm.
it is generally considered bad taste.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon the expression, but bad taste for a host to have nothing for someone to eat.
Right.
Like, I mean, you're at least supposed to offer. You're at least is supposed to offer appropriately.
Right.
Like, that's just good old fashioned hosting.
Right.
You know, I mean, it gets a little different when you are talking about someone who is, you know, and let's just call it a picky eater.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it is unfortunately the broad umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little harder to contend with. If there's a very limited list of foods, or a slightly limited list of foods, or an extremely limited list of foods,
Right.
that's a little harder to expect everyone to be able to accommodate, and you can have some appreciation for that. But to not know,
Right.
or to pre-expect, okay, mom always brings food for this kid because they're a picky eater. I've never had to deal with this.
Right.
I don't know what they eat and what they don't eat and why they eat it and if that's changed, or, you know,
Right.
I'm not involved. Like, she was doing this automatically for the child. I don't
Right.
have to think about it.
Right.
So I'm not going to think about it.
Right.
To suddenly get thrown in that position, it does, I would imagine, make a host feel really bad.
Right.
To already pre-know there's issues with the way this kid eats.
Right.
Whatever they may be. And that it wouldn't have been that big a deal.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go pick up a bag of nuggets. Like, where are we talking? Like $8-9?
It's like $9.50. No big deal. But,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just like, what the hell? You know, and then my other side of this is the family. Like, name the family member that I deal with. I know what to have in the house for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And again, that's things we do as a good host just to make you more comfortable.
Yeah. If Mario's coming over, I know they go get a bag of biscuits, a bag of sausage, a bag of instant eggs, a bag of nuggets, a bag of fries, and some clear beverage.
Mm-hmm.
Coke, Sprite, doesn't matter.
Oh, God, I just figured out who you code named. And my God, that... Really?
Yes.
Oh, God. I'm going to have to tell him this.
Yeah, you can. You can tell him to go back and watch the episode. I know what to have him. If mother-in-law
Okay.
number one's coming, Diet Pepsi's in the house. We hit sheets and I kill out their baked goods section.
Yeah, I was confused earlier when you said Diet Coke. I was like,
No.
Like, I don't know who you're thinking about, but that ain't mother-in-law number one.
That is mother-in-law number one. Mother-in-law number two, we get her the small Cokes. 12 in a pack, in the fridge, and healthy food. Like,
yeah.
You know, I know what they reserve. You know, one of them, needs air dust because, they might need to clean during the party. No big deal. We'll have it ready.
Oh, but no, I mean, again, you do kind of have to,
Right.
like, you encounter these things when you host people to your home.
Right.
And there is an expectation of certain things.
Yeah.
Like, not that you go completely overboard and only have everything that they love, because you're different people, you have different tastes and preferences.
Right.
But you try to have some creature comforts.
Well, you have to have creature comforts. You try to understand that not everyone lives on tea and coffee. And it would be horrifying to me as the family member hosting a birthday party and I don't have stuff for Mario, or I don't have stuff for this one, or I don't have stuff for that one.
Mm-hmm.
What planet of the seventh layer of an imagination does this mother get off in creating a you're not welcome in my home energy, because she wants to teach her 14-year-old how to pack his own damn lunch.
Well, and more to the point, suck it up and deal and just eat something.
Right. That doesn't work.
Well, because you didn't make the time to transition this.
Mhm.
One, like you didn't like try.
Right.
Oh, I was DD last year. Host knows I'm diabetic. Made a picture of non-alcoholic, sugar-free sangria. I was touched. So,
Exactly.
That's very kind, because especially if you're in a room full of people drinking,
Yeah.
and you can't even have the experience without getting drunk.
Right.
Like, no, I'll just sit here with my soda. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as much fun. It's kind of clear and obvious you're the DD. Like, I would be touched. I don't know that I like sangria, but that's a whole other story.
Hey, have you
Like,
had
sorry,
sangria?
I had
Good sangria?
probably not.
Okay.
Last time I had sangria, I was in college, and I think the person that made it for me was a dear, sweet friend of mine who also has a related story. Filled a watermelon with vodka, and it was so strong, no one could drink it.
They bought the wrong vodka. First off. Second off, sounds like they shaved out the watermelon and didn't leave enough. But
yeah, it was very watermelon.
Yeah, sangria is very delicious if it's made with the right wine, and it tastes and is put together correctly.
Yeah. Well, I was going to point out, like, I have a sister who drinks no coffee, furthering the conversations we have had about, was she adopted? Because how in this family?
At this point, I request a DNA test.
You know, she owns a coffee pot. She has little tiny packets of coffee. You know, the little or she used to. I'm sure she still does. But what I'm thinking about are those little itsy bitsy gifty ones. She had some of those and some filters. And she would pull this dusty $10 coffee maker from, you know, like Dollar Tree or something, or Dollar General or something, out from under her counter and set it up when she had guests who drank coffee and be like, here you go. Like, she could at least pull that together, okay?
Okay. Will you please message her and ask her to go through her coffee selection for Fog Lifter?
Honey, if she still has Fog Lifter, it's so old at this point, it is not safe to drink.
I don't care at this point because it's vacuum sealed and it is still safe to drink.
Oh my God.
It's coffee. It doesn't go bad.
I don't know. I think someone inadvertently got her like a Jabalia subscription at one point. Like, ironically or unironically didn't know better and just was like, here's a gift. And so, like, if I remember correctly, I think it was Javalia, and she, like, had a shit ton of it.
Okay.
All the little, like, just enough to make a pot. Like, little tiny packages, and then some of the slightly bigger ones that are, like, 2-3 pots. Like, she had a few of those. Like, she had a decent selection.
Well, again, but even that, we take our own coffee. I'm a bitch when it comes to coffee.
Yeah, like, anywhere we go, we take coffee, we pre-pack supplies. Like, as long as we can get access to a coffee maker, and he is not above buying a $10 coffee maker, let me tell you. He is not above it. And he will use it once and throw it away. Like, not a problem. I'm having my coffee.
Yes.
It's
cheaper than a Bell Bondsman.
Well, basically.
Yeah.
You know, and you're open in interpretation of coffee. Like, as long as you have something that vaguely resembles coffee. Right. Like, you'll do the instant coffee.
I like the instant coffee, but I like it I need to prepare it if I'm using it because I need to know my mixture.
Right.
All
But you'll still do that. Like, we can pack that and take it, and like, as long as we got hot water.
right. All right. So the poll is up on Aeson Knight's YouTube to go vote on whether this mother is an asshole. Share your
Absolutely.
opinions. And on the replay queue, comment. We want to know your opinions. The poll isn't there, but comment.
Exactly.
All right, let's dig into some relationship advice.
All right. How can I, 32 female, accept my parents, 52 female and 54 male, mental health is not my responsibility and live with it? Oh, that her parents' mental health is not her responsibility and live with it. All right, so I'm gonna skip the TLDR.
Yes.
Hi everyone, I, 32 female, moved to another continent 2 years ago for work reasons and to self-explore life. Been living separately from my parents since I was 22. However, we do keep in touch and I spend time with them, but not as much as I consider other families do. Both of my parents have had mental health issues for more than 10 years. My mom, 52 female since I was born, had big depression and panic disorders, and my dad, 54 male, after having a big accident at his job, which caused him to have a disability. In both situations, I could clearly say they didn't have the easiest lives ever, but also they are the kind of people to not seek for any way out or to constantly remind others of their mental health issues to justify their non-improvement. This has affected my teen years in a big way. When I was 12 years old, they had a huge episode where they attempted to end their lives at the same time, and which did not happen because I woke up and stopped them. They never talked to me about that night, and I know it will sound crazy. I forgot about that moment until years later. When I was 28 years old, I started going to therapy for other reasons, and suddenly many flashbacks came to me as a movie. I felt rage. I felt discouraged because that was the cause of so many situations in my daily life, and they just acted as if nothing happened. I hinted to my mom that I remember, but they dismissed the talk, and still, till today, nothing has been addressed. After that, my point of view on my parents' mental health had a huge switch. I felt not wanting to be responsible for it anymore. I didn't want to take calls for them to explain to others they aren't feeling that well, and that's why they won't be joining us today, and a huge etc. list. I understood now why, since very young, I was spent plenty of time out of the home and wanted to be away from that house. However, my family couldn't understand me. I got comments, especially from Grandma at first, on how cold and selfish I was acting. I had a huge fight with my close relatives about how they would call me to ask about my parents, but not about myself. Thankfully, they understood and we communicate better. This was 2018, 2019 approximately. Flash forward to now, 2023, my parents are still the same, if not worse. I barely get calls from them even though I moved so far away. When I call them, many times I don't get an answer. They reply to me when they consider is okay, if they are having a good day, and I have to understand that. I put up with it because I learned how to manage my expectations regarding this. But there's been a turning point. Sorry guys, I needed to give you context for this. Last April, I lost a dear friend to suicide, a situation that happened before to me with many people, and that is a trauma for me, provoked by what happened with my parents when I was 12 years old. My mom's reaction to this was, I am so sorry. Now you understand why I self-harmed myself, right, daughter? To not go worse for you. Not only I felt devastated, but I felt so lonely. Last week, she sent me pictures of her self-harm. This happened because she called me, but I could only talk for a few minutes. Then I asked her if she was okay. That was her reply. Yes, look, I feel much at ease now. She didn't say it, but I felt like she meant this was because I didn't stay long on the call. Honestly want to be like, fuck all this. But they are my parents, and I have to make these gymnastics in my mind to understand they are also human and sick. I truly don't know how to proceed. I just wanted to be away. Also, I know mental health is a huge fight, and please, if you need help, seek for it and confide in your loved ones. I don't want this to seem as I feel it bothersome. I truly need advice on how to find the right balance or be brave enough for what is best for me. Please help.
All right. So first things, you have to stop taking ownership.
Mm-hmm.
This is not yours. You don't own it. You can't own it. You can't fix it. You can't change it. Not your responsibility. You're seeking help for yourself. That's the first thing and probably the hardest thing to do. Secondly, they are adults, so you may need to call like adult protective because they are vulnerable adults at these ages. And then divorce it. That doesn't mean you don't care. That doesn't mean you don't love them.
Mm-hmm.
That means that you can't hold responsibility for them. That's harder. Because many years you have held responsibility for them as, you being the adult, the parent, them being the children.
Ever since you were a child.
Right.
Right.
And I would take and turn them in. There is organizations that we have charged with to handle these situations. Turn them in. And not walk away, but say, I cannot help you unless you want to help yourself. Just like you would do if they were drinking. What's your thoughts?
I have a few, and it kind of aligns with you pretty much. So basically at 12, you were made your parents' caregiver. or fundamentally thrust into a position where you were probably the most dependable adult, and I use that in air quotes because you were not yet an adult, you were still a minor child at age 12.
Mm-hmm.
Where you had this dawning moment that both of your parents were sick and were not really caregiving for you. Flash that forward, you've been in this weird in-between where you recognize what they did to you was inappropriate because no minor should be the caregiver for their adult parent. I'm sorry, I after my history, absolutely not.
Sure.
Your job as a kid is to be a kid and to grow up, not to be a caregiver for someone else. You don't have the skills. You should not have this thrust upon you. This is not your responsibility at all.
Right.
Other adults need to step into the situation and fix it.
Right.
Not rely upon minor children to do it. So that's my personal beliefs there. I'm not saying I didn't do it. I did do it. I'm saying I should never have had to have done it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really good conversation to have with one's therapist
mm-hmm.
about the realities of, yes, you did do that. And that was a great thing for your parents that you stepped up and did that. That doesn't mean that was a good thing and should be expected of anyone of that age.
Exactly.
Like, those are a very important set of distinctions.
Sure.
Like, don't be ashamed of what you did. Do recognize that should never have been asked of you. You can put a crowbar of separation between those two sets of emotions. And that's what a lot of this is going to be, is having two sets of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, on one hand, you do care about your parents. On the other side of this, and there can be a lot of connection or corollaries drawn to, like, having people with substance abuse problems in your life,
mm-hmm.
is until they're ready for help, all you can do is enable.
Right.
All you can do is effectively drag yourself into their problems and fix it for them so they never have to do it themselves or seek appropriate help.
Right.
You and fundamentally, as loving as we think we are being in those moments, you're not.
Right.
And that's a really hard part of this, is recognizing that this is unfortunately one of those moments you have to put your mask on before you help others put their mask on.
Right.
Because you can go down in a ball of flames trying to take care of someone who is not properly addressing their mental health issues.
Right.
And taking the entire burden on yourself, an untrained adult at this point.
Right.
Who is contending with something that even professionals do struggle with, because there are many therapists that get done with their slate of clients for the day and then have to go see a therapist because they are traumatized by their slate of clients.
Right. And the other side of that, and the more important side of that, is do not, note the words, do not allow them to blame you. And the text from your mother is blaming you. That is not your ownership.
If not blaming, it's definitely trying to suck you in.
Right.
To taking responsibility, to caregiving for them, to taking care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And caregiving is, we have, and as a woman, it is especially important for you to understand this. We have a societal belief that children, especially women, are the de facto caregivers for their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is many people expect, as your parents age, as they begin to have health problems, as they begin to encounter obstacles and problems in their lives, that it becomes your responsibility to take care of them because they raised you, they took care of you, they brought you into this world, you owe them, it's your duty.
Mm-hmm.
That's hostage taking, caregiving, and I will tell you right now, it leads to no good things.
No.
And for anyone out there in a caregiving situation, I will, or approaching a caregiving situation, I will tell you this: you always have a choice.
Yep.
And if those words piss you off, that's because you don't feel like you have a choice. I'm telling you right now, you still have a choice. It doesn't mean that the outcome is rosy. It does not mean this ends well.
Right.
It usually starts with a call to the state to say, hi, I am taking care of a vulnerable adult. I can't do this anymore. I will stay here until you get someone here.
Right.
Usually that's going to be a social worker.
Yeah.
And then you're done.
Yeah.
What happens from there is what happens from there. That is your sole responsibility. That's all you have to do. You can walk away.
Right.
Now, the fact that the alternative that is getting ready to happen is unagreeable,
right,
that it pains you, that it troubles you, are reasons you can choose in that moment to stay, to keep
right.
going, to keep trying to move this into a different situation. You don't have to. And the more you embrace that idea, I don't have to, the better your caregiving situation will become.
Right.
It sounds so screwed up, but I'm telling you, this is the God's honest truth. You will find the situation more tolerable when you recognize you have a choice.
Right.
Now, if you're looking at the potential to caregive for your parents or any other elderly, vulnerable person, and you feel like it is your duty, your responsibility, and that you don't have a choice, now is when you need to stop, recognize that sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is to stay out of it.
Right.
Not everyone's built for caregiving. Some people take a huge, as do most people actually, that take on caregiving, they take a huge emotional, financial, social, career, life goal, life path detour
Right.
because of caregiving. Um,
And
it is
it's not
the same
bad.
as parenting.
It's not bad to say I can't. It's not
It's
bad
not
to say
bad to say-
not my, I love you, Mom, but I can't deal with this.
I'm the wrong person for this job.
Yeah.
I can't care for you the way that you need to be cared for, because
Right.
this is not parenting your parents.
Right.
This is not bringing home a newborn or adopting a child, and there's some developmental stages you're going to go through that are pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not like that.
Right.
This is a fully functional, perceived under law, a fully functional adult with assets and needs and medical problems
Mm-hmm.
that you have to very carefully balance between ability
Mm-hmm.
and inabilities
Right.
to take care of their needs without overstepping their ability and denying themselves of autonomy.
Right.
Very different from child rearing. Totally different. Like, you assume, because most children do not have autonomy, not full autonomy. A
Right.
2-year-old does not have autonomy. You teach them autonomy.
Yeah.
But you start at the basis of they don't even know what autonomy is. They don't have a personality, really.
Right.
Like, they're developing one.
Right.
They're growing into that, into having autonomy at some future point, normally 18 plus.
Normally.
Yeah, that's not the same. You're assumed, even in your most horrible states of dementia,
Mm-hmm.
you still have autonomy.
Right.
And it drives caregivers flipping crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's this desire to do everything you can to protect them, and there's a societal expectation you do everything you can protect them like they're children.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very hard balance to strike, because you're dealing with quality of life versus safety.
Right.
Because sometimes you have to know that you're doing something that is not very safe, and I can do everything I can to try to help you do it safely, but you're gonna get injured.
Right.
And a lot of people will shame you for that and look at you badly for that. Because why didn't you jerk it out of their hands? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Because I'm dealing with a full-grown adult human,
Mm-hmm.
not a toddler that I can pick up and carry away and put in a playpen. I cannot pick up this 90-some-year-old woman or this 50-some-year-old woman and set her in a playpen.
Right.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Because most of the things that I could do that would prevent it are considered abuse, neglect, and I go to prison.
Yeah. And, but the mental health is the important part of OP. Save yourself first. Get the fuck away. You've moved away. You cannot take on guilt. You cannot take on shame. You cannot take on, and it's shame. It's shame that you're feeling. But it's not your shame. You don't deserve the shame. You don't accept the shame. You shouldn't accept the shame.
No. No one knows your experience better with your parents than you do.
Exactly. All right, let's see what the poll has to say on whether you get the asshole award or not.
Oh boy!
Da-dun-da-dun, you get the asshole award.
Aw, I'm the asshole.
Yes, you are the asshole for not packing your child food.
Yep. I think that one's fair. The only other vote I would have seen reasonable is more information, or that's the only one.
Yeah.
And that solely has to do with, like, do you know what you are doing?
Right.
And it would be more of a smack upside the head, like, get with it and get the info. I don't think you're... See, here's my problem. I don't think they're trying to be the asshole. I think they just really don't understand what they're doing in this situation.
Well, I don't think that they understand what they're doing. I also don't think that they have a clue about how to be a real parent. My opinion.
Well, either that, or they're either an older parent, or they are highly modeled after older parents.
Right.
Because, like, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, this is just what people did.
Yeah.
Screw the picky eater. Let them figure it out on their own.
Right.
We know better now. We're learning better now. We're acting better now.
Right. All right, guys. Well, we hope you've enjoyed the show. We know it's been a long one. Sorry, Facebook watchers. Facebook's being a dick. Please come over to YouTube. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Please make sure that you like the video. Replay crew, we love you. Comment below your votes, your thoughts on our topics. Always, you can reach us on the socials if you've got something you want us to investigate into, or you want my psychic opinion, his skeptical opinion.
There you go. And when we say we love you, if you're having stalkery feelings, not like that.
Right.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. So, of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Tracy Van, Caitlin Bell, and Devin. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, which, by the way, Patreon starts at $1 and has two more levels, $5 and $10 a month. And each of those are majorly differentiated by the amount of discount you receive on a private reading with Aeson Knight, a 25% discount for $1 a month, a 50% discount for $5 a month, and a 75% discount for $10 a month. You can find out all about that and more at pcsbnetwork.com.
Yes. And you also get special pictures, special views, all of that along the way.
Exclusive access, a Facebook group, like you get to listen to us tell stuff we don't tell on air.
Exactly.
Oh, and you get the barista chat, which we tell even more stuff we don't tell on air.
Yeah. Barista chat's coming up next week.
Oh, yes.
Yes, 28th, everybody, at 6:30, so there's still time there.
Absolutely. And you got Psychic Saturday coming up.
Like Saturday, where baristas get free gallery readings.
Absolutely.
Which after this month, the gallery tickets are going up.
Oh, yeah. And then you have your free class.
Yep.
Like, come on, guys. We want to see that support.
Yep. And, that does a lot of good for us. That does a lot of good for y'all guys. So with that, though, good night, y'all.
Good night.